We, as wrestling fans, have a contract with the show we watch. We agree to believe in the unbelievable, to cheer for heroes and boo villains, all while knowing there's a script. But what happens when a performer rips that script to shreds on live television? Not with a clever line, but with a moment of such raw, unfiltered emotion that it forces everyone watching to question what is real and what is part of the show. This is the story of that night. When Arissa LeBrock, the daughter of a Hollywood dynasty, action icon Steven Seagal, and supermodel Kelly LeBrock, first signed with All Elite Wrestling, the collective groan from hardcore fans was almost audible. In an era where celebrity crossovers like Logan Paul and Bad Bunny had set an impossibly high bar by showing genuine passion and athletic prowess, Arissa's debut felt different. It felt cold, corporate, a legacy hire. She was presented as a legitimate martial artist, an Aikido prodigy with a stoic demeanor. Her early matches were clinics in technical precision. She moved with a dangerous grace that was undeniably impressive, dismantling opponents with effortless throws and joint locks, but they were also sterile, soulless. She was a beautiful, lethal machine with no personality, a character that fans respected but could not, for the life of them, connect with. The Nepo Baby label followed her like a shadow, a criticism whispered in forums, shouted from the cheap seats, and even hinted at by wrestling pundits. To capitalize on this real-world sentiment, AEW Creative placed her in a feud with Crystal Cassidy, a veteran talker known for her vicious microphone skills and her ability to generate nuclear heat. Crystal was the perfect foil. A charismatic, media-savvy heel who saw Arissa not as a threat, but as a walking, talking marketing gimmick to be exposed. For weeks, the feud followed a predictable, simmering path. Crystal would cut scathing promos, calling Arissa Daddy's Aikido doll and the empty shadow, while Arissa would respond with cold glares and dominant, yet silent, in-ring performances. It was a paint-by-numbers storyline. But on one fateful episode of AEW Dynamite, during what was supposed to be the final promo battle before their pay-per-view clash, Crystal Cassidy poked the bear one too many times. She didn't just cross a line. She lit a match, dropped it on a trail of gasoline she didn't know existed, and unleashed an emotional inferno that would redefine a career and shake the very foundation of AEW. In wrestling, insults are currency. You can't wrestle. Your city sucks. Your family is trash. They're all part of the vocabulary. Crystal Cassidy was a master of this language, but that night she decided to speak one word of truth that proved more devastating than any scripted insult could ever be. The segment began in typical fashion. Crystal, decked out in gaudy pink and rhinestones, pranced in the ring, soaking in the boos from the Chicago crowd. "Oh, calm down, you troglodytes," she sneered into the mic. "I'm just out here to speak the truth about our resident movie starlet, Arissa." The camera cut to Arissa on the entrance ramp, clad in simple black training gear, her face an unreadable mask of indifference. Crystal circled the ring like a shark. "Week after week, I've tried to get a rise out of you, Arissa. I've insulted your fighting style, I've insulted your look, I've even insulted your dad's ridiculous filmography. Seriously, Under Siege 2. Dark territory? The only dark territory was the movie theater that was forced to show it. But nothing. Not a flicker of emotion. It's like talking to a brick wall with a better ponytail." The crowd chuckled, but Arissa remained still. Crystal leaned against the ropes, her tone becoming more poisonous and personal. "But I get it now. You can't show emotion because you don't have any. You're a product, assembled in a Hollywood lab. You have your mother's looks from Weird Science and your father's ability to look perpetually constipated while pretending to be a master of a dozen martial arts. You are a collection of famous parts, but there's no soul in the middle. You're a human-shaped void with a trust fund." She then walked to the center of the ring, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper as if sharing a secret with the world. "We all see it. The way you walk, the way you stare, it's all rehearsed. It's a performance. You are playing the part of a stoic warrior, And honestly, the performance is flat. It's wooden. It lacks conviction. It's worse than your dad's direct-to-video movies from the 2000s. She then paused, letting the silence hang, before looking dead into the camera and delivering the fatal blow. Face it, Arissa. You are not a wrestler. You are not a fighter. You are just acting. As that single, simple word echoed through the arena, the camera zoomed in tight on Arissa's face. For the first time, the mask didn't just crack, it shattered into a million pieces. Her jaw clenched so hard a muscle twitched violently in her cheek. Her eyes, once placid and cold, narrowed into slits of pure, incandescent rage. The producer in the truck screamed for the camera to hold the shot. The script was dead. They say the loudest sound in a wrestling arena isn't the roar of the crowd, but the sudden, deafening silence that precedes a moment of true shock. That's the sound that fell over the 12,000 people in attendance as Arissa LeBrock began a slow, deliberate walk down the ramp, her eyes never leaving Crystal. The microphone in her hand was shaking, not from fear, but from a rage so profound it was a physical force. She didn't enter the ring. She stood on the apron, a predator on the ledge looking down at Crystal, and lifted the microphone. Her first attempt at speaking was just a choked, guttural sound, a failed effort to force words past the lump of fury in her throat. The crowd held its collective breath. Then it came. A voice, hoarse with emotion that was nothing like the measured, professional tone she used in pre-taped segments. Acting? The word was a question, an accusation, and a condemnation all at once. You want to talk to me about acting? She stepped through the ropes. For the first time, Crystal Cassidy's smug smile faltered, replaced by a flicker of genuine uncertainty. A performer realizing her scene partner had gone terrifyingly off-script. Let me tell you about acting, Arissa continued, her voice rising in volume and intensity. Acting is smiling for a red carpet photo 10 minutes after a casting director told you that you only got the audition because of your last name and that you lacked your mother's spark. Acting is pretending it doesn't hurt when the tabloids run a picture of you and circle your problem areas and compare them to your supermodel mother in her prime. Acting is sitting in a dojo, mastering a technique, knowing that every person watching is just thinking, well, of course she's good, she's a Seagal. My accomplishments have never been my own. The raw, personal nature of her words was stunning. This wasn't a character anymore. This was a person bleeding in front of them. You talk about my performance out here? This is the one place I thought I wouldn't have to act. This ring was supposed to be my sanctuary. The one place where my skill, my sweat, my blood was the only thing that mattered. Not my name, not my parents, not the person you think I am. Her voice was now cracking under the strain, tears of pure rage streaming down her face. She jabbed a finger in Crystal's direction, her whole body trembling. You want to see a performance? I'll give you a performance every single day of my damn life. But this is real. So don't you ever tell me. She took a deep, shuddering breath, leaned in, and screamed with every ounce of air and soul in her body. I'm not acting. The explosion of that final line was so powerful, it felt like a physical shockwave. The sound system peaked, crackling under the strain of a scream that was pure, primal truth. For a few heart-stopping seconds, the only sound in the building was the echo of her voice and the heavy, ragged gasps of Arissa trying to catch her breath. Crystal Cassidy, the queen of comebacks, was speechless. Her mouth was slightly agape, her eyes wide with what looked like genuine fear. The weapon she had always used, words, had just been turned against her with apocalyptic force. The script she had memorized was now useless ash. Then the crowd erupted. It wasn't a cheer. It wasn't a pop. It was a visceral roar of understanding, of empathy, of catharsis. It was the sound of thousands of people recognizing a moment of profound truth. They were no longer booing a heel or cheering a face. They were bearing witness to a human being's emotional breaking point and defiant rebirth. On commentary, the usual rhythm was broken. Excalibur, typically a rapid-fire encyclopedia of moves, simply said, "Wow, I have nothing." Tony Schiavone, the heart of the broadcast, was visibly moved, his voice thick with emotion. "In all my years, I'm not sure I've ever seen anything that felt more real than what we just saw. That was a young woman's soul being laid bare for the world." Even Taz, the hardened veteran from the streets of Brooklyn, was stunned into sincerity. "Forget the wrestling match. This is bigger than that. This girl just let it all out, man. That wasn't a promo. That was a damn confession." Backstage, monitors were surrounded. Veteran wrestlers nodded slowly, a look of profound respect on their faces. Younger talent looked on in awe. Arisa stood there for another moment, chest heaving, tears and sweat mingling on her face as she glared a hole through Crystal. She had exposed her deepest vulnerabilities and, in doing so, had never looked stronger. With a final look of utter contempt, she didn't just drop the mic. She threw it down at Crystal's feet with a violent thud. She then rolled out of the ring and stormed back up the ramp, not with a wrestler's swagger, but with the raw, wounded energy of someone who had just survived a car crash. The cameras followed her all the way through the gorilla position and into the darkness of the backstage area, leaving a bewildered opponent, a stunned commentary team, and a world of wrestling fans asking one another, "Did that really just happen?" In the digital age, a moment's impact is measured in megabytes and trending topics. Before AEW Dynamite had even gone to its next commercial break, the internet had detonated. The hashtag #NuoImNotActing was not just trending in the wrestling community. It was the #1 trend worldwide, surpassing politics, movies, and global news. Clips from shaky cell phones in the arena were spreading like wildfire, their raw quality only adding to the authenticity of the moment. The debate was instantaneous and furious. Was it a work? Was it a shoot? Was it the most brilliantly executed, worked shoot in modern history? Veteran wrestling journalists, the ones who had seen it all, were admitting they were floored. A Dave Meltzer-esque reporter tweeted, "Forget pipe bombs. CM Punk deconstructed the business. Arisa LeBrock just deconstructed her entire life on live TV. I have no idea if it was planned, and for the first time in a long time, I don't care. It was 5-star television without a single punch thrown." The reaction from outside the wrestling bubble was even more telling. Mainstream entertainment news outlets, which typically ignored wrestling, were scrambling to post articles with headlines like, "Daughter of Steven Seagal has shocking meltdown on live wrestling show. Slams Hollywood pressures." Actors and actresses began chiming in, with one Oscar winner tweeting, "Every artist who has ever felt like an imposter felt that promo in their bones." Not acting. MMA fighters and other athletes praised her fire and raw passion. What made the promo so viral was its profound relatability. The core message, of being judged by your family's legacy, of feeling like an imposter, of the suffocating pressure to perform, transcended the wrestling ring. It was a human story told in the most dramatic way possible. AEW's social media metrics for the night went into the stratosphere. The official YouTube clip of the segment hit 10 million views in under 24 hours, with a comment section filled not with typical wrestling banter, but with thousands of personal stories from people who felt exactly what she had expressed. Whether AEW creative had masterminded the entire thing or had simply given Arisa a bullet point and watched her unleash a hurricane became the biggest mystery in wrestling. But the effect was the same. A mid-card talent with a questionable gimmick had just become the most talked about, most compelling, and most authentic star in the entire industry. A great wrestling angle can sell a pay-per-view. A truly historic moment can define a generation. Arisa LeBrock's "I'm Not Acting" promo did both, and its legacy began the second she disappeared backstage. In the immediate aftermath, everything changed. The pay-per-view match against Crystal Cassidy was instantly elevated from a cold mid-card feud to the undisputed main event, the most anticipated match on a stacked card. Ticket sales for the event reportedly saw a significant spike in the 72 hours following the promo. The story was no longer about a wrestling title. It was a deeply personal war. The narrative had shifted from, "Can the rookie beat the veteran?" to, "Will this broken, furious woman get her revenge and validate her entire existence?" It was a story everyone, wrestling fan or not, was now invested in. The long-term effects were even more profound. Arissa's character was reborn. The stoic, silent warrior was gone, replaced by a fiery, passionate anti-hero who fought with a chip on her shoulder the size of a mountain. Every chop, every suplex, every submission hold now felt like it was fueled by that raw emotion she had unleashed. The fans no longer saw her as Seagal's daughter. They saw her as Arissa, their champion of authenticity. Her merchandise, featuring the simple, powerful phrase, "I'm not acting," became the company's top seller for months. For AEW, it was a turning point. It solidified their reputation as a company where real personalities could shine, not just polished corporate products. It set a new bar for what a promo could be, moving beyond catchphrases and into the realm of raw, character-defining monologues. It became a moment that would be endlessly replayed in video packages, a benchmark against which future promos from both men and women would be measured. Ultimately, the "I'm not acting" promo became a legend. It was a story of a performer finding her voice by losing her composure, of a celebrity child stepping out of an impossibly long shadow, and of the incredible power of truth in a world built on fiction. Arissa LeBrock may have entered the arena that night as a character in a story, but she left it as the author of her own legend.